You already know. You felt it before you had words for it. The shift in her energy, the sudden softness, the calls that started coming again, the texts at odd hours. You felt it in your chest. Something had changed, and for the first time in a long time, it wasn't her pulling away, it was you. You had finally stepped back, you had finally gone quiet, and the world responded differently. If this is speaking to you right now, stay with me. Subscribe to this channel, more truth lives here. Hit that button now, then keep watching because what comes next matters. Let us begin. There is a moment in a man's life, a quiet, private moment where something inside him shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically. It does not arrive with anger. It does not come from bitterness. It comes from stillness, from exhaustion that has turned into clarity, from pain that has finally finished its work. In that moment, a man stops reaching. He stops explaining himself. He stops trying to be chosen. And something ancient wakes up inside him, something that was always there, waiting beneath the effort, beneath the hoping, beneath the proving. That something is his true self, and when that self arrives fully without apology, the world begins to respond differently. She responds differently, not because he became someone else, but because she finally sees who he always was. Let us talk about that. Let us talk about what happens to a woman when she truly knows that she has lost a man. Not just that he is gone physically, but that he is gone internally. That his energy is no longer reaching toward her. That his mind has found peace without her. That his mourns no longer include thoughts of her. That is a different kind of loss for her, and it produces a different kind of response. There are patterns here worth understanding. Not to manipulate, not to play games, but to understand the nature of value, to understand what happens when a man stops abandoning himself. The first thing that happens is this. She notices the silence. Men do not understand the weight of their own presence. A man who has been consistently available, consistently trying, consistently showing up, creates a kind of noise in a woman's world, a background hum she grows used to. She may not appreciate it consciously. She may take it completely for granted, but it is there like white noise, like a light left on in another room, and then one day it stops. And the silence is deafening. That silence communicates something she cannot ignore. It says, this man has moved on, not with words, not with announcements, with absence, with stillness. And absence, real absence, is louder than anything you could ever say. Most men make the mistake of announcing their departure. They send the long message. They explain their pain. They lay out everything they gave, and in doing so, they give her something to respond to, something to argue with, something to dismiss. But when a man simply goes quiet, when he just stops, there is nothing to push against. There is only the void. And the void is powerful. Do not underestimate the power of a man who needs nothing. This is where identity lives. This is where real masculine grounding begins. Not in performance, not in muscle, not in money, in needlessness, in the quiet certainty that you are enough. That your life has value without her in it, that your mornings are full, that your work is meaningful, that your growth is happening whether she watches or not. That is the man who is hard to lose. That is the man she thinks about, not the man who was always available, not the man who bent himself to fit her moods, not the man who apologized for things that were not his fault. The man she cannot stop thinking about is the man who stopped needing her to think about him. That is one of the most uncomfortable truths in this space, and it is true. Not because women are cruel, but because human beings are wired to value what is scarce. What is consistent often becomes invisible. What is suddenly absent becomes precious. This is not manipulation. This is psychology. This is how perceived value works. And a man must understand this, not to use it as a weapon, but to stop being a victim of it, to stop giving away so much of himself that he becomes invisible in the process. Let us talk about identity because everything begins there. A man must first know who he is, not who he was told to be, not who he tried to become to keep her. Who he actually is, his values, his standards, his non-negotiables, his way of moving through the world. When a man does not know these things clearly, he drifts. He adjusts himself constantly. He becomes reactive. He shapes himself around her preferences, around her moods, around her approval. And a man shaped by someone else's approval has no shape of his own. She cannot respect what has no shape, even if she wanted to. Over time, a man without edges, a man without a core, a man without boundaries, becomes impossible to value the way she once did. Not because she is heartless, but because attraction requires contrast. It requires polarity. It requires the presence of a man who is distinctly himself, who does not melt into whatever she needs him to be, who does not disappear into her world, but maintains his own. That is identity. And when a man reclaims it, something remarkable begins to happen. She feels it. Even before she sees it, she senses the shift. The energy is different. He is not as easy to read, not as predictable, not as available. He does not respond as quickly. He does not over-explain. He is simply different, more present in himself, less present in her orbit. And that difference activates something in her. A concern she cannot quite name. A question she did not expect to ask. Did I lose him? Is he really gone? Is this the version of him I was too busy to appreciate? Those questions are the natural result of a man finally becoming himself again. Now let us talk about attraction. Men think attraction is about what they do, what they offer, what they provide. And while those things matter, the deepest form of attraction, the kind that does not fade, the kind that creates real respect, is rooted in being, not doing. Who a man is, how he carries himself, whether he is grounded in his own presence, whether he has a direction, a purpose he is moving toward, whether he can sit in silence and feel comfortable there, whether he needs constant reassurance, or whether he is at peace with himself. These are the things that create lasting attraction. Not gifts, not grand gestures, not constant communication. A man who folds under pressure, who changes his stance to avoid conflict, who cannot hold a position calmly, loses something essential in her eyes. He may not notice it immediately, but something shifts in the foundation, a subtle but real erosion of the thing that made her feel safe. Now contrast this. A man who is grounded, who speaks less but means more, who does not chase her validation, who has a life he is building whether or not she is watching, who handles difficulty without theatrics, who is consistent without being predictable, who can be warm without being weak, who can be strong without being cold. That man holds her attention in a way she may struggle to explain because it is not logical. It is felt. It is sensed before it is understood. And when she realizes she may have lost him, something in her wakes up, something urgent, even if she does not show it immediately. The internal shift has happened, and eventually it shows. When a woman truly knows she has lost a man, the first thing you notice is a softening. The walls come down. If there was coldness, it warms. If there was distance, she closes it. If there was criticism, it quiets. Because when she believed she still had him, she may have tested those limits. She may have pushed. She may have taken for granted the fact that he was there. But when she believes she has lost him, the testing stops. The pushing stops. And something more genuine emerges. Sometimes, for the first time in a long time, you see the version of her you fell in love with. The softness, the warmth, the attention. And it is a strange and difficult experience for a man, because part of him responds to that warmth. It is what he wanted for so long, but another part of him, the part that finally knows his own value, watches it with careful eyes. And that careful watching is wisdom, not cruelty. Wisdom. There will be conversations she initiates, reaching out in ways she had not before, checking in, finding reasons to be in contact. She may ask how you are doing, but what she is really asking is this: are you still available to me? Have I actually lost you? Is there still a door? And a man who understands his own worth does not rush to open that door. He does not slam it. He does not lecture her. He simply holds his ground. He is warm, but not desperate. He is present, but not eager. He is kind, but not available in the same way he once was. And that response, that calm, measured response, is more powerful than any speech he could give. His energy says everything that needs to be said. Let us go deeper. Let us talk about self-respect because this is the foundation of everything. A man without self-respect will accept conditions no man should accept. He will tolerate being ignored. He will tolerate being dismissed. He will tolerate being a last option. He will clear his throat, rationalize it. He will say things like, "She is just going through something. She will come around. She loves me even if she does not show it." And sometimes those things are true, but often they are the stories a man tells himself to avoid the pain of facing what is real. What is real is this: how you allow yourself to be treated is what you believe you deserve, not what you say you deserve, what you allow. If you allow yourself to be ignored, you are communicating to her and to yourself that your time is not valuable, that your presence is not a gift, that you can be dismissed without consequence. And she will believe you. She will treat you accordingly, not because she is a villain, but because people treat others according to the value those others communicate about themselves. This is hard to hear, but it is the truth. And the truth is where growth lives. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is not coldness. It is the quiet, unshakable knowledge that you matter, that your time matters, that your peace matters, that you are not here to be convenient for someone who only values you when you are leaving. A man with self-respect does not issue ultimatums. He simply makes decisions. He does not demand to be treated better. He simply removes himself from spaces where he is not treated well. One comes from desperation. The other comes from dignity. One seeks to control, the other simply enforces. A man with dignity does not need her to change. He does not need her to finally understand. He has already decided. He has already moved forward. And that forward movement, that internal departure, is what changes everything. Now let us talk about purpose. A man without purpose is a man who will always be waiting for someone else to give his life meaning. When a man has no purpose beyond a relationship, the relationship becomes his identity. And that is dangerous because when your identity is wrapped entirely in another person, you lose yourself when things are difficult. You become unstable when she is unstable. You cannot be the steady presence she needs because you are too busy needing her to be steady for you. A man with purpose has something to return to. When things are difficult, he returns to his work, his mission, his growth, his contribution to the world. A man moving towards something is a man who is alive. A man who is growing. A man who has direction is fundamentally different from a man who is simply waiting, simply reacting, simply existing in service of someone else's needs. Purpose gives a man gravity. It gives him weight in the world. And when a woman sees that a man's purpose is carrying him forward without her, when she sees that he is not waiting to be chosen, that he is building something real, she understands something important. This man does not need her to survive. He would like her in his life, but he does not need her in his life. And that distinction, that small but enormous distinction, changes how she sees him entirely. A woman watching a man she once dismissed build something remarkable without her is one of the most clarifying experiences she can have. She sees what she had. She sees what she may have discarded, and she responds sometimes with regret, sometimes with renewed pursuit, sometimes with a humility she had not shown before. Now let us talk about masculine grounding because this is the container for everything else. A grounded man is a man who knows where he stands in his values, in his decisions, in his reactions. He is not easily moved by emotion alone. He does not make major decisions from a place of panic or pain. He sits with difficulty. He processes it. He lets it move through him without letting it move him off his foundation. Masculine grounding is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of stability beneath the feeling. A grounded man can feel hurt and still make a clear decision. A grounded man can feel lonely and still not compromise his standards. A grounded man can feel the pull towards someone and still hold his position, still honor what he knows is right for his life, still trust the voice inside him. Grounded men are rare not because the capacity is rare, but because it requires practice. It requires a man to sit with himself in the quiet moments and to do the internal work of understanding who he is, what he stands for, what he will not accept. Without those answers, a man is at the mercy of whatever comes his way. He has no center to return to. And a man with no center is not a man who can truly be lost because he was never fully found. A woman can only truly lose a man who has truly found himself. That is the uncomfortable truth at the center of all of this. The reason the dynamic shifts, the reason her behavior changes, the reason the silence speaks louder than anything you could say is because she is experiencing the loss of a man who finally became himself. And that man is irreplaceable. Not because he is perfect, but because he is real, because he is his own, because he stopped trying to be what anyone else needed him to be and became fully, completely, unapologetically himself. That is the version of you worth finding. That is the version of you worth protecting. And here is the deepest truth. You do not do this work to make her regret. You do not do this work to win her back. You do not reclaim yourself as a strategy. You reclaim yourself because you deserve to, because your life is yours, because the years ahead are still unwritten, because there is a version of you waiting on the other side of all the small-allness, all the begging, all the adjusting, all the shrinking. A version of you who wakes up in the morning with clarity, with direction, with peace in his chest, who does not wait for anyone's approval to begin his day, who does not measure his worth by who texts him back, who does not define his value by whether she chose him. That, Clear's throat man, exists. He is already inside you. He has been there the whole time waiting, Clear's throat, for you to stop outsourcing his existence to someone else, waiting for you to come home to yourself. And when you do, when you truly do, everything changes. Not just how she sees you, how you see yourself, how you walk, how you speak, how you carry the weight of your own life with dignity, with intention, with the quiet, unbreakable confidence of a man who finally knows his worth, not because someone told him, because he decided. That is the real shift. That is the real power. Not in her response, but in your decision. The decision to be done with small-allness, done with waiting, done with measuring yourself by someone else's capacity to see you. The decision to stand in the fullness of who you are and let the world meet you there or not. Either way, you are fine. Either way, you are whole. Either way, you are moving forward. Stand on your truth. Know your worth before anyone else does. Protect your peace with the same energy you once gave to someone who did not appreciate it. Build with discipline. Grow with intention. Move in silence where silence is required, and never again make yourself small for a space that was never truly built for you. You are not here to be convenient. You are here to be significant in the deep, quiet, undeniable way of a man who has done the work, who knows himself, who trusts himself, and who has decided once and for all that he is enough. Not almost enough, not enough with conditions, enough fully, completely, without revision. That is who you are. Now go be him every single day without apology, without hesitation, without waiting for permission. And if this reached you today, if something here landed, subscribe to this channel. There is more here for you. More depth, more honesty, more of what men need, but rarely find. Hit the subscribe button now. We will be here.